So you'll have to bear with me. This is my PhD topic that I'm looking at. The field is going to be circular economy and looking at SMEs. We've already sort of seen why SMEs are so important. Those small, medium-sized enterprises is where we can win on this topic and where we can really make a change. While I've been researching, sometimes when you're researching, you're getting stuck into all the paperwork, you're reading the articles, you're really getting stuck into lots of different sort of strands within the research. It's almost coming back to thinking, well, what can I do? What kind of change can I make? So as part of the research process, it's really open discussions with other people in my life. So in-laws ask about the PhD and I talk about sustainability and things that they might be doing. And it starts a conversation with people. And the reason I wanted to look at sustainability is, and particularly circular economy, is that I didn't feel I knew enough about it. And what I really wanted to do was bring this into my teaching somehow, so that it really informs what I'm doing, and that I find the impact might be far greater. When we're lecturing, when we're teaching, we have people coming together, students from around the world. So it's important that when we are lecturing, when we're imparting that knowledge or lighting those fires underneath our students, so that they can go ahead and take some of what we are teaching them back to their countries, bringing it into their sort of spheres. It's important that we bring in that sustainability. And I don't think I was doing a lot of that. I was really focused on financial accounting. That was my thing. So give me some first years and I'll help them learn all about debits and credits. But I really wanted to bring in this whole idea of sustainability, circular economy into everything I do. So I'm thoroughly boring everybody in my life with sustainability and circular economy. And I've done sort of a very loose research project just to start me off here. So I'm presenting more of the abstract. Right, I better get down to it, so I use all my time in the 10 minutes that I've got left. Okay, so we're looking at the circular economy, potential for those SMEs, small, medium-sized enterprises, and really looking at addressing any barriers and maybe creating pathways for future SMEs who might want to change their business model. And it's moving from very linear business models into a more circular business model. So we're incorporating the idea of using waste as an input for another process. And it's not, when I've been studying this, it's really been important to think about the difference between the circular economy practices and a circular economy business model. So the two things are quite different, but I'm hoping we'll sort of come to that as we go through. So this is the transition from a linear circular model to a linear model to a more circular model, which is important. So to sort of set the scene, looking at a few key definitions and principles, as opposed to the linear model, our circular economy focuses on really three core principles. We're looking to design out waste and pollution, creating processes and products maybe that minimize the resource. They avoid using some of the waste from the start. We could try keeping our products and materials in use for longer, thinking about how we break down the output at the end of its useful life, so extending that value. For example, in the clothing industry, certainly the leaders in that sort of H&M we have, and they are thinking about when they design their clothing, can it be easily taken apart and recycled and used for something else? So it's all about that, keeping our products and materials in use for longer, regenerating natural systems maybe along the way. So thinking about how we apply that. Again, we've talked very, very largely or loosely about SMEs and how important they are, and they really play a pivotal role in what we do when we're thinking about sustainable development, because there's so many of them and they make up such a large portion of our industry. They have their own common challenges they encounter themselves already, not least of which are financial constraints. Maybe they have limited access to capital. They have knowledge gaps. Being small, they might lack understanding regarding some of the circular economy principles. It might be costing too much to have somebody come in and talk them through all the different options. There might be operational disruptions. So again, it's very important that we look at the whole process when we're considering for SMEs the issues that they might face themselves. So when I thought about what I might research in this, just to get me started, I'm thinking about larger corporations having a different set of issues to SMEs. SMEs lag due to operational, financial, and technological barriers. So it's really an investigation into maybe some more of these barriers. How can we overcome and how can we address some of these barriers? As I've said here, you've got it on the slide. The circular economy really does offer a sustainable alternative to that traditional take, make, dispose model. We're looking at reusing, recycling, and repurposing. So again, important that we looked at all of those and consider the research problem as a whole. Existing research currently focuses primarily on maybe larger enterprises. So there is a gap in understanding how SMEs can maybe successfully transition to CE models. Now, this is a big ask. If you think about currently undertaking a business using the traditional linear model for small businesses, sometimes that's just enough as it is. That's a struggle as it is, let alone having to think about how they would rework, regenerate, and think about those different processes they could do if they were to bring in more sustainability. So that's outlining my research problem. Research objectives I thought I might consider is raising awareness. So assessing awareness rather, measuring current levels of CE, circular economy awareness, and understanding of what that means in SMEs. And maybe by asking some of these SMEs if they know what a circular economy is, if they apply any of that, it would raise awareness in itself, asking the question. Identifying barriers is important. So I'd like to investigate some key obstacles, maybe particularly nuanced for SMEs themselves that wouldn't present maybe across the board. I've had discussions about looking at the different contexts that I might investigate, whether I look at urban SMEs compared to rural SMEs and how the differences might be there. It's not all about the challenges. And for me, I think when I can actually go and speak and maybe visit some of these SMEs, and it's all about talking to them to see what other unintended benefits applying some of these alternative business models and sustainability practices. So I'm quite interested in the ripple effect that we have outside that and the community impact. A big element, I guess, of the circular economy is people and businesses communicating. And if you're doing that within a community, then there are going to be wider ripple effects, unintended benefits, if you will. So I'm interested in speaking to SMEs, seeing what's happening on the ground. This should be in relation, I must say, in relation to accounting, with the backdrop of accounting. So I'm also interested in exploring what accounting practices these SMEs use who are already adopting a circular business model. And I would like to come on to developing some kind of framework. I like to think there might be a practical output to the research so that it might act as a pathway for future SMEs who might be thinking about adopting these circular business models and the benefits that it would attract should they do that. So very loosely, that's sort of the research I've got. My methodology might be looking at doing a survey, maybe some interviews, some really sort of small focus groups. I'd like to go and visit a few key SMEs and really build some case studies. And what would be brilliant to bring those case studies into my teaching so that it's got that impact that you can follow it along. Again, output finally, hopefully, would be the framework development. As a pathway to guide maybe other SMEs along the way. Expected contributions, practical, actionable guidance for SMEs in the circular economy, and a clear pathway maybe for overcoming some of those operational and financial challenges. If somebody's done it before and they can say, we came up and we faced these oppositions, these were the barriers, how did they overcome the barriers, what did they do, and what advice they can offer, practical advice to other SMEs. Policymakers, we might look at insights to develop targeted policies, incentives maybe to support SMEs in these circular economy transitions. So we're trying to encourage rather than put barriers up. Research and industry, maybe a deeper understanding of SME specific barriers and opportunities in the circular economy space, and a contribution to the broader sustainability and economic goals. And I think that is forefront of where we should be going with this. I think almost everything, every sort of field of research needs to have some element of this sort of, in my opinion, brought in. But thank you very much for listening to my blatherings about the circular economy. I'm very grateful and really, really grateful to be a part of the conference today. And I'm really, really grateful if you've got any advice for me or any pointers, any key tips or hints. But thank you very much.